writeyourbestbook.com. Welcome to the premiere video episode of Write Your Best Book, the top 10 ranked podcast created for authors by authors. Most of you are already familiar with the audio version of our podcast, which is available on iTunes and Spotify, as well as our website. But we've been working behind the scenes for a little while to bring you the very best of our episodes from 2020 over here onto YouTube so you can actually watch as I sit and discuss all things writing with some of the top influencers in the author community. We'll be talking to Jerry B. Jenkins, Jeff Goins, Jane Friedman, Joanna Penn, Mark Dawson, and all your favorite writing celebrities. So be sure to hit that subscribe button now so that you don't miss a single show. Today's episode is all about writing ad copy that sells books. Well, what do I mean when I say copy? Copy is just another fancy word for things that are written down. It typically refers to the content written for social media posts, emails, podcasts, etc. But it can cover a wide range of marketing content, including your back cover blurb and your Amazon description. Basically, anything that's written with the intent of engaging an audience and or selling a product or service. So, as you can imagine, there are tons of places that you can input that original copy to hopefully sell more books. But you first have to know all the top secrets of writing copy that sells. With us today to teach us all things very clear is none other than the Dave Chesson of Kindlepreneur. Now, if you've been living under a rock and you don't know who Dave Chesson is, or you've never visited his website, you're one of the very small minority of writers. So be sure to check out the show's description for a link to his website. It's the perfect resource for self-published authors and even traditional published authors who can find amazing content to help push their book sales. Now let's bring Dave Chesson onto the show so we can just sit right here and get to the heart of the matter. Okay, we're here with Dave Chesson of Kindlepreneur. Thanks for joining us, Dave.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you on the show. So first, start by telling my listeners all about Dave Chesson and Kindlepreneur.
Sure. Well, I designed Kindlepreneur to teach authors how to market their books. I really like to dig deep and be a little bit advanced, but really to break it down and make it easy to understand. I've been a consultant to Barnes & Noble Press. I've also been a consultant to Orson Scott Card, as well as worked with Kevin J. Anderson. I'm set up to work with Brandon Sanderson. So I've worked with a lot of fiction authors as well. And I've even been endorsed by Amazon KDP. Where they've directly told authors to learn from Kindlepreneur on how to optimize their books for more sales. So it's been a really crazy cool career, and I've really enjoyed being able to work with not only my favorite authors, but as well as some of my favorite platforms.
Well, Dave, you do have an amazing platform, and you have an amazing blog which offers tons of advice and helpful advice to authors for everything from the craft of writing. I saw today you had one on children's books recently, and to publishing, to marketing, but you also help authors sell more books without giving away the secret sauce. Can you tell us how you can help authors do just that?
Sure. Well, the key is that there are many different ways and tactics in order to sell more books. And the truth of the matter is that certain tactics are really great for some authors and certain tactics are better for others. To be able to write clear steps on each one and help authors to figure out which is the best one to fit their genre or their background is by far the best way for us to be able to do that. And if you find yourself to be someone who has no idea where to start, we have a really cool button at the top of the website called Start Here. And that actually breaks down each phase from writing to formatting to publishing to marketing, post-marketing, and all the different things that you can look at. And when you click that, it's basically like a table of contents that takes you straight to where you can learn even more. So use that. And in truth, I tell people that I haven't written a book on book marketing because that page right there is exactly
that's your book.
That's it right there. Make it free for you.
Well, and we will also include the link to that, guys, in the show notes so everybody can find it easily. Now, as you know, today's topic is how to help authors write great ad copy and book descriptions. So let's start with book descriptions, since that's something I think authors will typically write first before they get around to ad copy. My first question is, can we use the same copy for our back cover blurb as we do and recycle it for the Amazon description, or do they need to be separate things?
That you can. That's a really good question. If you don't know what to write specifically for a back book blurb, sorry, that's a tongue
Back
twister.
blurb, yep.
Yep. Then using what's on Amazon is fine. However, though, here's the thing. Let's talk about the different situation in which somebody would read one over the other.
Okay.
When you're on Amazon, understand, and I mean, put yourself in the shopper's shoes, right? We're
Mm-hmm.
really quick to click that back button, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you really got to hook somebody from the get-go. That's why the first statement to an Amazon book description is so important, because if I start reading, I'm like, is this my genre? Is this my kind of romance? And if it's not, and I'm not feeling it, I'll just click the back button and go to the next book. It's that quick. When it comes to a back book blurb, on the other hand, you have to understand the person is physically holding the book. Okay, they're either at a store,
Mm-hmm.
which is the only way that that becomes a marketing ploy. Is that if they're at a
Right.
store, they pick it up, they turn it around, and they look at it. For some crazy reason, people are more likely to put the book. It they'll read more before they'll decide to put the book back. Right?
Okay. On a back cover blurb as opposed to the
Exactly.
Amazon description. Okay.
Right. We're so quick to click back on Amazon, but when
Yeah.
you're holding it, you'll get a lot further.
Huh.
That's why a differentiator between the two is that your hook needs to be phenomenal for Amazon to keep them. That first sentence is
Gotcha.
so important. Whereas with the back book blurb, it's not as important and you can go a bit more detail.
Mm.
Another thing, and that last part is really important. In Amazon, you really need to keep it simple. You need to keep it quick. It's funny is that us online shoppers have become scanners. We no longer really want to read giant blocks of text. We're almost trained that when we're looking at a blog post or an article, even New York Times is now breaking up their paragraphs more and more to make it like more digestible. They're finding that readers online want to scan and feel like it's quick and easy. If they see something big and thick, they're like, okay, no, I'll just go
Yeah.
to something else. I wasn't that interested, right? However, though, that's not the case with a back book blurb. People are more likely to read through a big
Makes sense.
paragraph than they would online. So there are some subtle variations, and if you truly believe that there are going to be people physically picking up your book and making a buying decision, then absolutely you should spend a little extra time understanding the nuances and differences between the two. However, though, if that's not the case, okay, instead, really the back book blurb is just because the person bought it online, and well, they already bought it. So what does it matter? Is on the back they already read your
Right.
Amazon book description. It doesn't matter.
Right. Okay. So maybe you could use the same content, but maybe write it a little more briefly for the description, more choppy, more, for the
Well,
description. And then maybe you could be a little longer or slower with the book back cover blurb that we keep tripping over.
that's right. I
Yeah.
would
Okay.
say the Amazon book description, is its own beast,
Yeah.
whereas the back book blurb is more the traditional sense of a book description. And
That
that's
makes,
because, people are going to hold it, they'll
yeah.
read through it, they're used to reading block text. Whereas online, we're conditioned to just click
Oh, yeah.
back if it's not hooking us from the get-go.
Gotcha. Okay, let's talk about then the Amazon description, because I think that's more, I think that's something that we need to focus on a little more, since there needs to be more nuanced. The key factors that should be included in the Amazon description, as well as maybe things to avoid when writing them.
Absolutely. Well, first I'm going to talk about some general things between both, and then I'm going to break this discussion up between nonfiction and fiction because they're extremely different on the
Okay, that's
recommendations.
great.
So the first thing to a book description is that you have to understand the layout of it. When people go to your Amazon book sales page, okay, they will they will only see the top portion of your book description, and they have to click the link that says see more in order to see the rest of the book description. This only goes to push how important that first sentence is. And I've already called it the hook because that's exactly what it's got to be. It's got to hook me and make me want to click the link to read even more. When I'm designing my book description, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, I spend 80% of my total time on that first sentence. And I do that because we have found that if people will not read that first, if people will not get hooked by that first sentence, they won't click the link to read more. So it's the most important thing you can do. So really invest the time to create a great hook. Okay. Then another thing that can be applied to both fiction and nonfiction is having a call to action. When the person's gotten down to the bottom of your book description, reminding them to go click the buy button is a very powerful thing. We found that just by telling people click buy now, like some dumb statement at the bottom that just says, now go click the buy button and purchase, increased our conversion rate by 3%. Like
Really?
that's just crazy. But now you can do things to make it even better. For nonfiction, you can do things to say like, get it now with a special pricing. That's actually still in line with Amazon's rules because you didn't say it's on sale, you didn't say a price change, but you could say it's special pricing. And that drives a bit of urgency that the person thinks, oh man, I better get it before that price rises. Right now it's at special pricing. I was
Special
thinking
price.
about maybe getting it later, but hey, might as well
Yeah.
lock in that price, right?
Got to do it
And
now.
so they have gotten to the part and now they have urgency and they pick it up. With fiction, on the other hand, just recapping, saying a statement of find out if so and so is going to succeed,
Yeah.
or in this harrowing tale, will this be the end? By the Get the buy button, or hit the buy button at the special pricing, something like that.
Okay.
Again, you're recapping the story, you're bringing back the purpose they're looking at, and then you're driving them to the sale. So just to remember on the structure to recap before we start going into specifics on nonfiction and specifics on fiction, remember your hook is by far the most important thing you can do. Spend 80% of your time perfecting that thing, 20% on the list, because it's that important. The second thing is don't forget to have a call to action at the bottom. Don't leave it open-ended. Remind people to go back and get it. Okay, so now that we've kind of talked about general structure, let's go ahead and go into the specifics of fiction and nonfiction. With fiction, I think one of the most important thing an author can do is your book description really needs to reaffirm in the shopper's mind that this is their kind of fiction, their kind of category, okay? I am a science fiction fan. More importantly, though, I read sci-fi military. Even more importantly, I read sci-fi military space marine books. I want books like, Ready Player, or excuse me, not Ready Player One. I want books like Old Man's War, like Starship Troopers. These are my kind of things. So the best thing an author can do is if you wrote that kind of book, you need to reaffirm in my mind in this book description that this truly is my kind of sci-fi military space marine book. Okay. So how do we do this? Well, if you're a reader of these books, you know some of the key phrases that trigger it. Intergalactic war, space invasions, drop ships, warships or battle cruisers. These are things that evoke the whole interstellar war between. And we readers of that, like those are our trigger words. Those are like, oh, that sounded great. So understand that you really need to use your genre's like phrases that really connect with your kind of
Buzzwords
reader.
almost.
Buzzwords, you're right.
Yeah.
And it resonates. You might say, well, it's not technical. I don't call it a battle cruiser, but let me tell you, a battle cruiser it evokes immediately what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Not a spaceship. Spaceship could be a lot of things, but the battle cruiser, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Thinking about those words to rekindle in my mind that this is my kind of genre is very important. Another thing that I would say too in writing your fiction blurb is that you need to remember this is not a book report. Do not give me too many details. Okay. People get into this. They start describing all the things about the character. I don't need to know that. I just need to know their motivation. All right. They start going into details about multiple characters. Whoa, way too many people, and I haven't even purchased your book, right? Or the other thing is that they never drive what the purpose of the book is. They get into the details in the story. I like to think of our book description, okay, or Amazon book description, like a movie trailer. You know, when you're listening to that movie trailer and you have that deep voice, in a land where, the crops have died
Hey,
and a
you should
sweep.
do a side hustle as a voice announcer.
But notice that in that movie trailer, when you have that narrator, they don't say, "Here is Mike. Mike has, 5 children and a
Yeah,
wife. Mike is gonna, no, you already lost me, right?
yeah,
It's
good point.
big, it's momentous, it's ominous if it's that kind of genre, or
Mhm.
it's bubbly and heartwarming, and if it's that kind of genre. And then in the end, there's something like you're almost always trying to take it to the next level. Don't say, will she find love again? Say, is she doomed to a life of solitude, or will she truly find the man that she's been dreaming of?
Yeah.
Like, don't just say, will humanity survive? Say, under the crushing blow of the such and such aliens, will humanity find a way to scrape by and become the once powerful race it was? Notice that I'm
Mm,
just, my goosebumps are coming from that statement.
yeah.
So think about these statements. Think about how those stories are important. You might say, well, this is a sweet love romance book. It's like, yeah, but I'm not invested in a story that doesn't matter. Make it
Hmm.
matter. Always make it matter.
Hmm.
Find ways to make it matter. So you can go through the different genres. And if you can't impress upon the power and the momentous aspect of this book, no matter what, then you are doing a disservice to your book description. You will find that people will not be as invested. Notice all of those examples I just gave. Which one sounds better? Which one makes you feel like there's more to the story?
Absolutely, by far. Yeah.
So, to recap on the things we talked about, buzzwords for your genre are very important because they connect us. Okay. Um, do not give too many details. This is not a book report. Make sure that you raise the stakes and you show how momentous it is, and find ways to do it. And finally, think like a movie trailer narrator. How do they do it? Okay, these things are really important. Um, if I were to give a very general formula for a fiction blurb, I would say that there's 4 parts. The first part is the hook that we talked about. The second part is the genre establishment. Okay, making statements that truly fit in that genre, whether it's romance, whether it's science fiction, whether it's post-apocalyptic. More importantly, not just that it's post-apocalyptic, but that it is a specific type of post-apocalyptic, a genre, like a sub genre. Is this zombies? Disease? Is
Yes.
it meteorological? What caused it? Right? That setting. Okay, that's what that second part is your setting and your sub genre establishment. Then it's an introduction of the main character and their journey. And then finally, you raise the stakes. Okay. You're building up to it and you close it down. Then you have a call to action to remind them to go to it. Now, there is one thing that I might want to sometimes add in there, and it's up to the author. Okay. Before you get to the call to action, one statement that I really love authors to do is when they liken it to an existing book.
Yeah.
Fans of, okay, if you liked X or Z, you will
Mhm.
love this book. Because again, like I talked about in the book description, you're trying to convince them this is their kind of book. I
Mhm.
assure you, if somebody wrote down at the bottom of the book description, it's like Firefly, if you love Firefly and you love Starship Troopers, then this is the book for you. I'd be like, hey
Yeah.
man, you got me because you just said my 2 favorite things. And if you think that the story's like that, then I'm down. I want
Yeah.
my anti-hero and I want my, international or intergalactic war.
Hmm.
Thank you. So see that it's because I may be reading and I may not know if this is going to be my kind, but when you state that, when it's a type of book that I understand, now I know. Now I'm sure.
Yeah.
And one of the marketing tips I always give is that if you confuse, you lose. So if by the end of your book description, I'm not quite sure if it's my kind or not, then I probably won't click the buy button. I might go to something else that will help me to feel like it is my kind. So,
Oh.
so those are really important aspects to fiction book descriptions. Let's go over to nonfiction. Nonfiction, again, has the hook. It's not as important or as powerful as the fiction hook, but it still is very important. I need to know what I'm going to learn or gain from this book. So you should probably start with that. What is the benefits to life because I read this nonfiction? Okay. The truth of the matter is that people do nonfiction because they have a pain point, they want to learn, or they want a result, or they're a type of person. Okay. Let's break that down. So a type of person, let's face it, is demographic. Okay.
Mhm.
If there is a like a book on how to write, that's cool. But if there's a book, say, on how to write as a military person stationed on the other side of the world, I'd be like, oh my goodness, that was me, you know. Or the other thing too is that if your book is, say for example, um, how to quit smoking so that to make your family happy, right? And you happen to be the dad where your family is getting after you about your smoking, you're going to connect more with that book
Mhm.
than you would just a general book that says quit smoking. A great example of this is an author wrote a book on how to go back to school. You know, that was it. It was on how to go back to school, right? The
Right.
problem that this author didn't realize is there's technically three major demographics on back to school. There's
Ah.
people who need to get their GED because they never got through high school.
Mhm.
There's people who never went to college and want to go and finally get their college degree. And then there are people who are looking to go up the corporate ladder and potentially get their masters so that they can get a
Yeah.
higher paying job. Well, I assure you that if I'm one of those demographics, I do not want to read a book that's for
Oh.
the other demographic.
Mhm.
I need to know that it's for me. So this author made the clear mistake of writing a book for everyone, and because it was for everyone, nobody bought it
Yeah.
because they didn't know it was for them. So in this case, the author then changed it. It turned out that their book was supposed to be for like retired people wanting to go back and get
Mhm.
their college education, which that's actually a pretty large market. So they removed the confusing picture of the young girl on the cover and instead found a much older lady at her computer, smiling happily. That they then made sure that the subtitle specifically addressed that demographic. And then here comes our part, which is our book description. They made sure to write it from the perspective of an older generation and all their motivations for why they would go back to school. And because they finally knew who their demographic was and who they were writing for, they were able to translate the things they would learn in the book into the benefits they would get from the things they learn. And those are much more powerful statements, okay?
Mhm.
So, to recap on nonfiction book descriptions, number one is you really need to know who your demographic is and you need to write for them. And if you say to yourself, this is for everybody, you are going down a very dangerous writing path. Okay.
Right.
So, think of who they are. The second thing that we talked about is think about the pain points, the solutions, and the benefits, okay, that come from reading your nonfiction book. Why did somebody want to read this book? What do they hope to gain? How will this improve their life? You need to address those things inside of your nonfiction book description. If you just focus on one, you will find that people will not connect. If you focus on all three and you do well of delivering that, you will find much greater conversion rates of people checking out your book description. Okay. Now that we've talked about sort of some of the aspects to your book description, let's talk about the structure. Well, the top part is going to be your hook, like we talked about. That needs to be something that clearly shows that they're at the right spot, who this is for, and really is a power statement on the benefits you get from this. Okay. The next part depends on what you're writing about, but you may want to flesh it out a bit. But one of the things I think is most important in a nonfiction book description is bullet points. remember how I told you that we live in a society, an online society of people scanning? You
Mm-hmm.
will find, we actually did a heat map study of where eyes are, and when you have bullet points, what ends up happening is people click, they read the first sentence, they click to see more, and then they scan quickly, and then they start really focusing on those bullet points for whatever you bold. So with that said, it's really important that you do include bullet points on your nonfiction, and in those bullet points, you should list it as what it is that they'll gain from this book, and how, and inside of that one sentence, weave in how that changes their life. So don't just say, like, say for example, it's how to lose weight, right? Instead, knowing who your target market is and the demographic, you would say, lose weight fast so you can fit in that swimsuit this summer, right? See, I turned it from the what it is you're learning to what this will bring you. Here, instead of, another pain point is, don't have time, right? Maybe that would be the case. Don't have time to eat healthy or do this. So instead say, quickly, or let's see, I'm just off the cuff here on it,
Yeah.
but um, 3 simple steps that anyone can implement in their busy life.
Mm.
Oh, that addresses one of the, shall we say, hesitations someone would have, right? Because, oh, well, okay, they've acknowledged one of the holdups I have with weight loss by saying that. See, these bullet points can really be a driver for letting them know, again, the pain point you address, what they gain, and how it changes their life. And if you can drive those inside those bullet points, you will find that your book description, even if the other parts aren't even that great, you'll find that those actually will help you to convert better, because most people won't read the other parts. They just read the bullet points. So structure it like that. Talk about the benefits in bullet point aspect. One of the things I also think is really important is that if you have anything that's extra beyond just writing in the book, list that in the next part. Includes graphs, status, pictures, whatever. That just kind of builds the worth of the book. A lot of people forget about that. If you have a content upgrade, like sign up for my email and you'll get access to these videos, or you'll get access to this recording that I did with so and so, or you'll get access to extra case studies, then list that as being a part of the book. Because you're building. This isn't just a book. This is more. You get a lot of great information in order to gain the benefit. So include the things that it comes with. You'll find that if somebody's hung up between your book that lists all these great things that come with it, or somebody else's that doesn't, well, I get more value out of this, right? It's only $2.99 for this one, $2.99 for that one, but I get more. I mean, it's kind of like the infomercial, but wait, there's more. There's a reason why they do this.
Yeah.
We have a way to do it nicely and artistically, but my point is that include any of the things that come with your book as if they are value increasing propositions. So now that you've established the things that come with your book, remember, like we said, for all of them, is have that call to action. Highly recommend adding urgency in there, making it say, get it at the special pricing. That's still in line with Amazon's requirements, and at the same time, you'll find people who are kind of on the fence being like, well, I might as well just pick it up. I'm already here. And you will see much better solutions. One other thing that I want to kind of bring up too that a lot of people don't talk about. So now that we've talked about nonfiction and fiction blurbs, I would also highly recommend to Amazon authors out there to ensure you have an editorial review section. Okay, you can set up an editorial review section by opening up an Author Central account, and then you can edit your editorial review for each of the books. What I love most about the editorial review section is that Amazon flat out says you can put anything in there. Honestly, you could use your mother's statement. They even say something to those lines of like, if your mom or friend, has a quote, you can use it. That's your time. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing that because that's not as powerful.
No.
But here's the thing.
But you can.
But you can. And if I'm a shopper and I've read the book description, I'm probably scrolling down to kind of look at anything else before I make the decision. Sometimes the people scroll through and they're looking down to look at the reviews. One thing that's great about your editorial review section is you can fill it up with great statements from people. And if you're designing your editorial review section, what I highly recommend is that, and again, we're in a scanning society here. People most likely won't read the statement, but what they will read is who said it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I like to do is, if there's a editor out there, if there's a genre specific site, and I can get them to do a review of the book or so, I will put whatever blurb I can pull from their book review, and then I will put, in bold,
Mm-hmm.
the name of their website, which is very genre specific. So there's like a website out there called topsci-fi books.com. When I get them to review my book, they'll be like, they might say a statement of like, it was an okay book, blah, blah, blah. Like, ain't nobody going to read that though. But they see that topsci-fi books.com, which that sounds pretty authoritative in
Yeah.
science fiction. Wow, they reviewed it.
Street
It's
cred.
hilarious. But they
Yeah.
will see that, and it just builds immediate authority in their mind that, wow, that must be legit since they spent time doing it. Another thing is that if you're an author and you say, well, I don't have connections to those websites, okay, but other romance authors. If you're a romance author, other sci-fi authors. What I would highly recommend is that you may say to yourself, but nobody knows that author. Okay, then write their name, comma, best-selling sci-fi author. Another name, comma, best-selling author, blah, blah. Another name, award-winning, because, hey, there are a lot of awards out there. These are really key things. And you know what? When you're listing that person as a top author, they kind of like that. It's like, cool, this person's book totally acknowledges me in that respect. So I would design your editorial review to find statements from people and bold who they are and try to make it authoritative to somebody who doesn't know exactly who they are or what it is. And if the reviewer is from a website like Top Sci-Fi Books, then just put the review site's name because that's all they need. If it is another author, write that they're a bestseller or award winner. That's all they need, and what genre they write in. I would love to hear that military science fiction writers love this book. That makes me feel good. And so that is an area where a lot of authors don't think about, but that is the best way you can design that to get the better conversions.
That is awesome. Very great, awesome information. Wow, that's amazing. Okay, can we talk about what about copy for things that we're trying to sell our books, like in even social media posts or newsletters when we're doing to our subscriber list? Do you have any tips for my listeners on maybe buzzwords or key things that they should say in newsletters or social media posts?
Yeah, I would say using a version of your hook or using a version of your "if you like this, then you'll love this" statement seems to be by far the best, especially for fiction. With nonfiction, it's kind of a different beast. It really comes down to how you market it. But I think the most important one for fiction authors, especially if they're doing like Facebook ads or whatever, is
Mm-hmm.
statements that I can connect with are important. With Facebook ads, you can, and again, we talked about this. I can advertise my book to Firefly fans, people who like the Firefly page, and people who like, have acknowledged as science fiction. Or I can even, to a certain extent, get them on Starship Troopers.
Mm-hmm.
And now I know Starship Troopers and Firefly fans will see my advertisement. So guess what I'm going to put in that advertisement? It's like Firefly had or it's like Firefly and Starship Troopers had a baby,
Maybe.
right?
Yeah.
That it's an immediate connector. I'm like, okay, I know exactly what this book is about, and I haven't read a thing.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, it's got this very, very cool science fiction picture. And what's funny is a lot of people would say, well, that's not my book cover. I have to use my book cover. No, you don't. No, you don't. You just need to catch me on Facebook. Remember, I'm on Facebook and I am scrolling, right? We're a scroll society. I am scrolling, looking for cat videos, to find out what my friend was doing. Oh,
Yeah.
another vacation, that son of a gun. Oh, hey, look at that. That's a pretty cool picture. Oh,
Yeah.
Snapple. If Firefly and Starship Troopers had a baby. That
Uh-huh.
sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's how you do it, like in Facebook, is you have to catch us and then you have to immediately connect with us. And I
Yeah.
think that that sort of statement of, hey, these two things you know and love. Yep. Well, I made something that's kind of like that. That will build instant understanding and trust. If you're a famous author, on the other hand, then, I know who you are. I love your books. I just need to see your name and be reminded. See what I'm saying? Like, but if you're a new author, don't make your name the big part. Don't make, like, because no, Stephen King's name is bigger than the title of his book. Why? Because people buy Stephen King books and they know what they get with Stephen King.
Yeah.
That is not the same for you, for me even. Like, it's just not. So don't make that a part of your ads.
Yeah.
When it comes to Amazon advertisements, it really depends again on the fiction or nonfiction. But I really think a general rule of thumb is look at your hook and
Mhm.
look at your if you like this, then this
Mhm.
statement, and really work those as well as you can, because those are usually the best two things to connect people.
Okay, great. Well, this has been extremely helpful, and I just want to see if you have any parting advice, anything that we didn't go over, you want to underpin anything we've spoken about, any parting advice for my listeners.
I didn't really talk about how to build a good fiction hook.
Okay,
I think I kind of skipped on that a bit, so I'd like to, if I can, go back to
sure,
that.
absolutely. Let's do it.
Well, the fiction hook really needs to be a power statement. Usually, it's kind of like I call it the mic drop. When you say this one sentence, it should be like after you say it, you want to drop the mic and walk away. Like, yeah, I just said that. You know, and until you feel that good about it, you're not there yet.
Not there. Yeah.
Sometimes I call it like an elevator pitch. Like imagine you have two sentences in order to catch me, right? Instead of getting the 1 minute elevator pitch, like, all right, you have 1 minute to tell me your book.
Yeah.
No, you have two sentences. How do
Yeah.
you drop it? Okay. Now, first, it really needs to be a reminder that this is the right genre. If I saw a sci-fi military book and the mic drop moment was uh, something that's centered around a romance between the space marine and his
Yeah.
beau back in Earth. Like, it might be a really cool statement, but I'm like, oh, well, this is romance. My bad. Click
Yeah.
back. So you need to make sure that it's there. But one of the things I love is you can just read other authors' mic drop statements and then take from it. So you could say something like, one of my favorites, and I can't remember exactly what I'm gonna say, is that Mike couldn't understand what was going wrong until uh, until the building was destroyed and he died for the fourth time. Like, oh, Snapple. Like, wait, what? Now, granted, that was a really bad remembering of it, right?
But we get the
But it
point.
could have been.
Yeah.
But like that last sentence, and that's how he died the fourth time. Wait, the fourth time. Now notice that it's a died a fourth time, and that obviously this is a regeneration, maybe
Mhm.
depending on what the book cover looked like and the title was. I should know what kind
So
of
what?
death for the fourth time, but you just got me like, oh, Snapple. Wow, let me read the rest of this because was not seeing that coming, right? You can go into the mic drop moments. It could be in romance, uh, and I'm really spitballing here really quickly, but like, you
You're
know,
doing fine.
uh, Jennifer really thought that love would never come again, and it didn't until it did, but then it didn't.
I like
Like,
it. Yeah.
like you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa,
Wait.
okay,
Yeah.
hold on, slow your roll, bro. Let me see what's going on here. you
Yeah.
you can start to see these. Harry Potter was a great one way back in the day. One of the first hooks was Harry was a they went a little bit long in their hook, but let's face it, they could.
Yeah.
Harry was just an ordinary boy who lived with his parents, or with his aunt and uncle under a staircase until an owl dropped a letter that changed his life and informed him he'd be going to wizard school. Like, theirs was better than what I just said, but in the end, it was like you were like, wait a second, I thought we were just reading about a boy. Oh, Snapple, he's going to
Wizard school.
wizard school. Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Again, so I would really work that hook until you feel like it's a mic drop moment. I
Love
just said that. Drop the mic and walk away. So work it. And by the way, one of the things I really love to do as I'm writing my book is I actually try to work on my hook statement. And I like to say the hook statement to people when people say, "Oh, what's your book about?" It's just saying, "Well, it's about a guy who then meets a girl." And I'm like, well, my character thought love would never find her. And then it did. Then it didn't. And then it did. But then it didn't. And you can start to say these things and you can start to see their eyes. Now, if I'm not a romance guy, I don't like romance books, but if
Yeah.
somebody said that, you would notice that I'd actually be paying a lot more attention than if you said, well, it's about a girl who kind of likes a guy, and she lives in a small town, and
Yeah.
uh it's like, I'm just like, oh God, I shouldn't have asked, I'm sorry. you know um, but you can test it with people, and you can see how engaged they are, and whether their eyes glass over, or if they're trying to change the subject, or if they're like, "Oh, that's nice," then they don't ask you anything else. These are really key moments, and so I will test and test, because I tell you, if you get that hook right, you will see so many more conversions from all of your other book marketing efforts, your email blast, your advertisements, your whatever it is. You will find more sales, because advertisements and book promotion will bring people to your book. It's your book description that drives the sale. So
Okay.
improve the conversion rate. You will improve the conversion rate of all of your efforts. And that really starts with that hook. So really think about it.
I'm glad that I asked that and that you talked about that hook. I love the mic drop moment. I may even steal that. I'll give you credit, but I'm going to steal it.
Sounds good. Drop the mic and walk away.
Yes, I love it. I'm going to tell my clients. Okay. Well, thank you, Dave, so much. It's been a very helpful and very entertaining episode today. So thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. And again, thanks for having me.
Anytime.
What a great first episode to bring over here to YouTube, right? Dave Chesson. Dave Chesson. Anyway, if you want more information about how to write ad copy that sells, if you want more information about working with me, or if you want more information about working with Dave, be sure to check out the description at the bottom of the video. You'll find links to everything you need. Most importantly, you'll find a link to our current resource, which is the Book Boss Author Resource Vault. What's that? It is a complete compilation of over 20 resources, from templates to audio files to ebooks and worksheets, interviews with experts like this one, all put into one big pile of documents that are going to help you write your best book from beginning to end. Literally walks you from idea all the way through publishing and even marketing. It's valued at over $697, but we're giving it to you guys exclusively for only $37. And you can check it out by clicking on the link in the description called bookbossvault.com/author resources. Go ahead and get it now, or you can visit our website at writeyourbestbook.com if you want to work with me as an author coach or book editor. Talk to you soon, and in the meantime, go write your best book.